In this video, I'll show you how you can use an iPad to draw on top of your live video and then bring those drawings into a live stream. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. During a recent live stream, one of my channel members suggested this app called Video Pencil, and I had never heard of it, so I decided to try it live on stream and see what it could do. After the stream, I was so excited that I had to come and make this video as a recap of how to set this all up. So in this video, I'll show you step by step how to get the program video from your ATEM into this iPad, and how to get the drawings that you're making in your iPad back out onto your main stream. There's a few pieces of gear you'll need in order to get this working, and fair warning, this is not cheap because I'm doing it the hard way, which is doing everything through hardware. This is all actually using NDI, so if you're using a software switcher, you can actually bring it into the switcher using entirely software and just keep it in software the whole time, and then it's much cheaper. But I wanted to show you how you could use this app to bring in these drawings into your live streams if you're using a hardware switcher like an ATEM Mini. We'll quickly go through the diagram of how this is all set up. Now, this is a little bit of a simplified diagram because I actually have a pretty big ATEM back there, but it's all the same concepts. This will work just as well with an ATEM Mini as it will a 40 input ATEM. In this example, I'm using the ATEM SDI Pro ISO because the SDI inputs mean we can use SDI devices, and it actually has two SDI outs. So I might use one for a monitor, and then the second one is what we're going to use for this setup. So first, we've got a camera plugging into SDI 1. That makes sense. And the trick with this is we're going to need an NDI encoder and decoder to get the video in and out of the iPad. The encoder I'm using is this ProConvert SDI Plus. This takes a SDI feed in, and then it outputs an NDI feed on the network. And on the other end, I'm using this NDI to SDI decoder, which I've had for a few years now. And this takes the NDI feed and outputs it over SDI so that I can bring it into the ATEM. So I've got the SDI out of the ATEM going into the converter to make that video feed appear on my network. And I've got an NDI decoder to bring an NDI feed from the network back into the ATEM. Of course, the guts of all this is the iPad. I've got an iPad 11-inch in front of me on the table, and I've got this connected to an adapter, which is doing a couple things. Power, importantly, Ethernet, a wired network connection. And this HDMI is actually not necessary for the setup. It's just so that I can share the iPad screen on this recording for you. However, the wired Ethernet is really important because NDI will perform much, much better if you give it a wired network connection. So to recap the setup, we've got the iPad, which is bringing in an NDI video feed from the encoder, and it's sending out an NDI video feed that I'm bringing back into the ATEM. So now let's go over to the app, and I'll show you how to set this up inside the app. By default, when you open the app, you'll just get a black screen. You'll be using one of the cameras on the iPad. This is actually using the rear camera from the iPad right now. As soon as this is plugged into your network, and if you have an NDI source on your network, when you tap this option that says back camera, this will actually discover any NDI sources on your network. I have OBS, which is broadcasting NDI feed from OBS, and I also have the ProConvert, which I set up. The ProConvert is just encoding the SDI video feed from my ATEM and making it available on the network. So as soon as I tap this, it's going to bring in that NDI feed, and that's what I see on the iPad now. So already I can draw on top of this, but where's that actually going? Now we need to set the output of this to send the video feed back out over the network. And actually already at this point, I can just cut over to the video feed from the iPad. This is the HDMI output from the iPad. And if I draw on top of this now, you can see it's actually drawing, and you're seeing the drawings live. So this is a great start, but I actually want to bring this in as a downstream key that I can layer and actually show on top of other things as well. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of this, and we'll go back to the app and set up the NDI output. Go into the settings here, choose high quality if you have a wired connection. We will turn it to 1080p for NDI output. We'll turn it on, and then this is the key thing that makes it work. This transparent output over NDI, this will actually output just the drawings with a transparent background. And if you're doing this with a software switcher, you could bring in that NDI feed with a transparent background. So as soon as I enable this, it's going to send only the drawings out over NDI. So on the left is my video feed, and on the right is the feed coming in from the ProConvert, which is the NDI output of the iPad. So now as I draw over the picture, you'll see it's outputting only the illustrations that I'm drawing. I can draw arrows or whatever. Hi. So now I can combine the overlay, which is just the illustrations, on top of the video in the ATEM. To do this, I can use a downstream or upstream key. So let's pop over to the ATEM Mini and set this all up. As you can see in the multi-view here, I have the camera as well as the illustrations coming in over NDI, and I've got my third camera, which is the overhead camera. So in the ATEM software control, I can either use the downstream or upstream key for this. Let's go ahead and set up the downstream key first, since that's probably what I would recommend using. That NDI feed is coming in over camera 2, so we're going to use the camera 2 for key and fill. We're going to set the clip to something around here, and we're going to have to fine tune it later. With the fill and key source, I can now turn this on and we'll see what happens in the multi-view. And that was a pretty good guess with the clip and gain, so let's give it a little bit of a tweak to see. So if the clip is too high, it's going to not show up at all, and if the clip is too low, it's going to cover everything. So adjust it until the blacks go away. And now with the downstream key enabled, you can see I can just highlight stuff, I can draw arrows, I can write, and it's showing up right on top of my video live. And I'm seeing live on the iPad here as well. A slightly simpler version of this, if you have a fast enough network where the NDI feed is super reliable, you can actually use the NDI feed as the video source. So if I go back into settings and turn off the transparent output, and now the NDI feed has the drawings as well as the camera. As you can tell, it's not necessarily the most reliable. I'm getting a couple of drop frames here and there because I guess my network isn't fast enough. So this is why I set it up the other way originally, where I'm only outputting the graphics, not the video. And that just makes the NDI feed use less bandwidth to begin with. Plus, if it flickers, then it's only the drawings that are going to be flickering. So that was it. It was pretty quick to set up. It does require the NDI decoder and encoder for SDI if you are using it with an ATEM. But again, if you're using it with software switcher that can just input and output NDI directly, you can just skip the whole hardware bit of that. I'm so impressed by this. I'm actually just going to go and buy this app right now. It is $40, which is a decent price for this, but it is luckily just a one-time purchase. Let's go ahead and just buy this right now. And there we go, purchasing, and we got it. And now, as you can see, there's no more Video Pencil logo in the corner. But that's why I wanted to buy it while recording this, because I kind of liked it for the demo. Well, that's about it for this video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.